It's all about bigger petrol engines. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending. My name is Robert Llewellyn. I'm chairing this final panel discussion of EVS27. It's a great honour to be allowed to do that. The reason I'm here is only because I drive an electric car. I have solar panels on my roof. I've driven 55,000 miles in electric cars. I've never run out and burst into tears on the side of the road while Jeremy Clarkson drives past in a very large SUV laughing at me. It's never happened. So I'm a very keen advocate of electric vehicles in the United Kingdom. It's an uphill battle, but the hill is getting less steep. It used to be like that, and now it's about like that. It's getting a bit easier. There's more and more people getting more and more interested in what we're all doing here today. I'd like to quickly introduce the panel that we have here, which is an extraordinary panel of highly well-informed people. Immediately here is Jordi Villa from Nissan Europe. Next to him, Anthony Thompson from Qualcomm. And next along is Simon Luc from Renault in France. Next along is Professor C.C. Chan from the University of Hong Kong. And finally, but by no means least, Louis Rees from SEA. Just about got it right. So we're each going to do a quick 5-minute presentation. We'll then have a brief discussion, and I would love to be able to open it up to questions from anyone in the audience. You might have to shout, but we'll repeat the questions, which we'll do towards the end. So, first of all, can we hear from Jordi Villa, please?
Thank you very much. So, again, can you hear me?
I think they will be able to.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, again, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Robert. I think we are going to talk today about electric vehicle. One of the themes is our vision for tomorrow. What I would like to give a view as well of what is the reality today, because we tend to think electric vehicle and sustainability about something in the coming years. But I would say in our case, we already advanced a lot and we have a lot of reality. And of course, I will tackle briefly, very briefly, so we can discuss, some elements of how we plan to move forward in the coming years. So first, the reality is what? The reality is we have vehicles. So for example, we have Nissan Leaf in our case. And that generates also a strong industrial activity. Just to remind, for example, Leaf, which used to be produced in Japan, is now produced in Europe, in Sunderland plant, Leaf and the battery. This means an investment of 480 million euro. And this generates 580 direct jobs, but generates in Nissan, but generates more than 2,000 jobs in the supply chain. So roughly, when we talk about the business dimension or economic impact dimension of electric vehicle, we need to bear in mind that for every job created in our own company, there tend to be 4 jobs created elsewhere. And I think that's important, especially in these times where we're trying to explain and justify everything we do. Is it something of the future or is it a reality? Okay, we tend to say it's a reality, growing reality. We sold, for example, worldwide 87,000 Leaf, okay, which is 30% higher if we take in terms of electric vehicles than what the hybrids did in the first 2 years of life. So there's a lot of debate these days. Is it high? Is it low? The TIV or the industry of electric vehicle? Well, there is a fact, which is it's growing. Okay, it's growing. It's growing to the pace. And if I compare, or we compare to another technology, let's call hybrid another technology, it's growing faster. That's a fact. Okay. As Alliance, as we're here also Renault and Nissan, we're proud to say we're leading the pace. Together we sold more than 120,000 units. across the globe, of course. And that's more than all the major automakers altogether. As Alliance, we have invested more than 4 billion. So if somebody has a doubt if we are committed about that technology, we have a very clear vision of how is it going to evolve. There is no way back clearly on that. We're in Spain, so let me just do a quick overview of what's going on here. There's also an investment going on here. It's around 100 million to produce the ENV200. So it's the NV200, it's a van or people carrier for private use, but also for taxi use. That is going to be produced from next year, around May next year in Barcelona. And of course to be sold in Spain, but also to be sold across the globe. Are we selling in Spain as well? Yes, we're selling at least 163 units a year to date, so I'm very precise. By now, probably more, I hope. We have 1/3 of the share of the EV market. Now, I think what we are interested in is the whole EV market grows. That would be the key point. And globally, as Alliance, we have more than 70% of the market in Spain if we put together the figures of Zoe and Leaf. Another point which I think is important, maybe many of you have been using a taxi these days, or some of you. We are working, and I think that's one point today. There are several actors in this business. One is the OEMs. The other can be the public powers, if I may say, or the authorities, the legislator, municipalities, governments. We're signing an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Barcelona City Council. And it's meant to foster two things. It's the electric vehicle taxi, and it's meant to foster as well the last mile distribution, which is still another angle that maybe it's not enough tackled in several debates. We are basically laying down what we need to do when we say us as a maker, but of course any other maker on EV, and what we expect from the legislator, also from the local authorities, in terms of committing to create the right conditions with a number of not necessarily financial, can be non-financial incentives, of course the preferential lanes, parkings, etc., but also very important, a proper charging infrastructure. That's very important. When I say charging, it means quick charge, but also normal charge, both of them, and that's crucial. Is it important? Yes. In general, there are so many things to be done to keep fostering the EV business. I think overall we can agree we need to keep increasing the awareness. Probably in this room, we're all very much aware of electric vehicle. Is everybody out there, if I take all Europe, let alone if I take all the globe, about the benefits of electric vehicle, about the fact that it is a reality? Sometimes I speak with people and they still ask if we have electric vehicles in general, not of our makes. So I think there is a long road and a long, let's say, pace to make sure that everybody understands what can be the benefit of electric vehicle. Are there success stories? There are. We are here, we talk about relatively low volume still in Spain. Let me take an example of Norway, okay, which is not so far away, a bit on the north, but not so far away. For example, Norway Leaf is been in October top seller. Okay, we're proud because it's our make, but the point in this room is it's an electric vehicle, which is #1 in sales in a single month, with 5.6% market share, and we are 3.2% in the year to date. It means it's always top 5. Okay, and there are other electric vehicles. So the point that shows us is, and maybe can foster later discussion, is if there are the right conditions. And then, again, there is a mix of financial and non-financial incentives. It's not necessarily cash. Sometimes it's tax breaks. They don't pay VAT over there, for example. It can be very successful. Are Norwegian people different than us? A part of what they eat, but maybe yes. But essentially not. I think they look for a proper proposition, proper vehicle, and a proper financial scheme. In terms of what we expect of the authorities, let me say, I'm in Spain now, so I would say there used to be, for example, incentives here, 5,500 euros per vehicle. They are not anymore. They are promised to be, again, from January. I think what we need in general, the message is we need a certain stability. I think we need to give the right message. As OEM, at least speaking for Nissan, we don't expect the incentives to run forever. but because it's a totally new technology, and there are sometimes rational but sometimes non-rational reasons or that prevent people to go into this type of vehicles, I think that's a common effort. If we're all serious about getting a sustainable model in Europe, and I would say in the globe, I think it's not only the OEMs that need to invest, and we're ready to invest, and we're investing. I think it's also the public authorities need to commit with us a number of activities, and that's must. So it can be also incentives, purchasing incentives, fine, but it can be an array of measures which I mentioned before quickly. So that's exactly what we're expecting. If there will be a question later, but I'm anticipating what we are requiring. And of course, public authorities of many countries and regions know well because we are in close discussion, I would say, across the globe on that one. I think one of the topics was, so what for the future? What our expectations? And I think today, I'm not here to say we're going to sell that or that amount of vehicles in 2020 or in 2030. I think I explained before, we have a reality. And the electric vehicle sales are simply growing, fact. Okay? May I say that there was a bit more skepticism, or at least that was my feeling a couple of years ago, and this skepticism is, in my view, fading away. What we are doing, I think what is important, what we are doing, because when we speak about potential barriers, there are a few. Okay? One could be the range. Okay? So the range, yes, the OEMs, in our case, we are increasing the range. So Leaf, the new Leaf, the Euro Leaf, is increasing by around about 20% the range, with some improvement of the battery. We're close to 200 kilometers. As many of you are experts, you know that the range is not something absolutely linear. It depends on a number of factors, and I think we are keen to do a lot of pedagogy to explain to everybody how your range can be bigger or shorter, and I think it's also our duty to be extremely transparent on that. But that is going to improve, and needless to say, in a vast majority of users in Europe, they don't do 200 kilometers per day, that we know very well. Concern over price. So another tag on the electric vehicles was they're expensive. Okay? Today, we are not the only automakers, but allow me not to do publicity of my competitors and colleagues at the same time. But if I speak for Leaf, the new Leaf made in the UK is sold to, I would say, a very competitive price, like I would say other colleagues and other OEMs. So, for example, Leaf is below the 20,000 euro, below 20,000 euro now, if of a Leaf without any other incentive in Spain for a battery lease scheme. Okay, so the installment rate of 480 euro that used to be a former vehicle initially imported from Japan, now if you take a buy lease scheme, so you lease the battery, would become 199 euros per month. So it's much more affordable. If you can compare easily this with other internal combustion engines, C-segment type of car, and I think that's really a direction. So price is not really an obstacle, let alone when we speak total cost of ownership. That we could also deepen on that. Over the battery, okay, is the battery reliable? Is it has a long life? We're giving a 5 years warranty anyway. Okay, but what is more important, we are giving warranty on the capacity, on the state of health. Okay, under certain conditions that we give. On top, if a customer can opt to lease the battery, which then will be automatically covered on the warranty. So in reality, if somebody keeps saying the battery is the issue, in reality the battery is not the issue. We are there, and we are there to support. We are committed to that, not because only people tell us, because we believe it's the right thing to do. In terms of long-term vision, a bit as a summary of all what I said, I'm convinced we're right to enter this field. You would argue I couldn't say otherwise, maybe. But I think the proof is we're not alone, and of course we could be alliance partners with Renault, but many other makes, which I'm not mentioning now, they can speak for themselves, are also launching electric vehicles these days. So I would say now there are a few makes around Europe that do not have or do not propose or will not propose an electric vehicle, which in a way is good. Okay? I think we are setting a direction, and that gives the credibility to the whole, let's say, business model that we are proposing. Do we think other things than, other solutions than electric vehicle? Well, we believe electric vehicle has pure electric vehicle, zero emission. If we really want that, if we really want to avoid let's say, or help this planet, it's a must. Are there other solutions? Could be. We're working as well on fuel cells, it's a fact, but it's not for tomorrow, so it takes some time, this program. But yes, we're looking for other solutions. But the fact that we work for fuel cells, for other fuel cell solutions, does not prevent or does not mean that we are not believing EV is the future. EV is the reality today, and EV is meant to grow, especially when we improve the vehicles and we keep improving the vehicles, the price, state of health of warranty, of battery, but also, again, there are the right charging infrastructures and the right incentives to launch this business across, I would say, Europe and across the globe. And then let me finalize with a couple of comments. One is battery recycling. We are here talking about not only vehicles, I think we're talking about an ecosystem made up of vehicles, but how we produce of course, the electricity. There are many actors in this business, and I think many might be in this room. We are also thinking on the reuse of the battery at the end of the cycle for, of course, storing energy, giving back energy. I would say, fortunately or unfortunately, we're not experiencing too much in detail today because the batteries work very well, so we are not recycling them yet. And we wait in a cycle of 3, 4, 5 years since we started. No, it will be the 5-year cycle since we launched the vehicles, and then there will be the big maybe return or start returning the batteries. But at the moment, I would say, I always joke, there's not much business at the moment because the batteries are good and it goes well. So that's essentially, in terms of our commitment, yes, we're committed, yes, we invest. We invest also in Nissan in quick chargers. So we are very open with, again, public authorities to discuss, and companies, corporations, to discuss on the installation of quick chargers that we are even giving in very favorable conditions. Of course, we need the collaboration again of municipalities, governments, to complete their part of the job and to create also the infrastructure, the cables, as I say, to make that a reality. So overall, it was maybe a bit more than 5 minutes, sorry for that, but I was the first, so I always do this trick. What I was trying to say is we are there, it's not only the future, and we are really addressing point by point the elements that have been said sometimes, told sometimes to be barriers, which I don't believe are barriers anymore, but of course open to discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jordi. Anthony. Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Anthony, you have 4 hours.
So I remember when I was growing up.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you, everyone, for coming along. And it was always good to go after somebody who paints the full picture, because a lot of what I'm going to say is going to resonate with what has just been said. But I'm just going to go straight to the future. And I think, when we're talking about transportation, I think the future is electric, and I think it's wireless. And if we just step back a little bit and have a look at what the future's like in our cities, estimates from those who know in the World Health Organization and OECD and these sorts of organizations who understand population growth and urbanization, our population on the planet is moving into the cities. And by 2050, there will be about 70% of our population, about 5 billion people living in the cities. Now, to put that in context, that means that 1 million people per week for the next 40 years will start either moving or elaborating in the city. So there'll be 1 million more people per week for the next 40 years, and if you add that up, it's 2 billion. So it takes us from about 3 billion to about 5 billion in 40 years. And of course, that puts a huge amount of strain on our infrastructure. Part of that infrastructure is to move those people around. So you've got a transport system which is going to start creaking. Now, if we don't do something about that, what the World Health Organization have said is that we're going to have a bill, something in the order of $600 billion, and that's largely due to respiratory illness, asthma, those sorts of things. So what can we do about it? Well, I think we're sitting here for a very good reason, and that is because we think that electric cars offer a solution to some of these problems. And as we've had alluded to by Geordie, there's a lot of barriers still to uptake of electric vehicles. And I think, if you do look at them, the vehicles themselves, as you've seen in the show, and a lot of you will have driven them, been part of designing them, are a fantastic offering. And as they become more and more, or better and better, and the cost comes down, there are still a couple of things with them that are not perfect. And I would suggest can also make them even better than petrol or diesel cars, and that's about refuelling them. And at the moment we have an issue with recharging. The batteries don't have a great battery capacity, and they're also heavy and expensive, but they're also slow to charge. And so what it's forcing people into, this mindset that we have to do is put more and more battery packs onto vehicles to go further and further, but the compounding factor there is that it gets slower and slower to charge. So what you see in the hall are bigger and bigger chargers. So it's a very, very sledgehammer approach, more, which now we at Qualcomm have tried to flip that on its head and say, well, if the problem is that batteries are heavy and expensive, why put more of them on the vehicle? Seems a little bit counterintuitive. Why not just charge them up more often? Why not charge them up at home, at work, at the supermarket, when you're at the traffic lights? Now, the obvious question about why don't we do that is because you can't jump out of the car and plug it in when you're at traffic lights. If you're on a taxi rank, you can't expect a taxi driver to get out of his car, plug the car in each time it moves forward one car length. But what you can do is charge them wirelessly. And if you charge the vehicle with a wireless inductive power transfer system, then you don't have to touch anything. You just park the car over some infrastructure that's buried in the ground, and it allows the vehicle to be charged. So you can charge in a taxi rank all the way as you're moving forward. You can charge at the supermarket when you've only got 15 minutes or even 4 minutes to speak. Because you don't have to rummage around in the boot and take plugs out and plug them in the other end and swipe your card and then punch your code in. It all happens automatically. And of course what that means is that the car is a much better user experience. And what we've seen, I think, with some of the more successful vehicles is that when they're a better user experience, not as good and not worse than a petrol or diesel car, but better, then people will start buying them. And I would say to you that electric cars will take off when they're all better than petrol or diesel cars. And I think we're getting pretty close to that now. Once they've all got wireless charging on them, we'll be there. And I would suggest to you that a wirelessly charged electric car is a fantastic offering. Never need to go to the gas station, never need to worry about it being refueled. Now, of course, that means that you've got an adequate infrastructure to charge the vehicle. And we've seen at the moment a bit of resistance to cities putting infrastructure and charging infrastructure in to plug the vehicles in for a number of reasons. Some of those reasons are aesthetic. They don't want to put infrastructure in, big charging posts, where they've been taking out parking meters and putting trees in, and that's understandable. But also there are safety aspects. People trip on cables, and we all try and wear wireless communication devices, etc., because we know that cables and leads and things can be a bit cumbersome, and they also get dirty and messy. So we think that a wirelessly charged electric car is the future, and we think it's a better experience, and we think if electric cars take off, or when electric cars take off, then we surmount a load of problems in cities which we're about to see created if we do nothing, which is around the air quality due to tailpipe emissions. So just to finish off, I think that the future is electric. I really do. We at Qualcomm think it's electric, and we think it's wireless. And we've spent an inordinate amount of time thinking about how to implement that. We also understand that the promotion of electric vehicles is key also. And I think if you've been to our stand, you would have seen the Formula E car, and that's the future of motorsport in our eyes. So that vehicle will, I think, drag a new generation of motorsport fans into our world, and the way that they can interact with the championship, they can game with it, they can listen to the drivers because you haven't got the engine squealing. That's the future of motorsport. So I think the future is electric, it's wireless, future of motorsport is Formula E, and the future of our cities is cleaner, quieter, fresher air and healthier citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you. And now we'll hear from Simon Luke from Renault.
Good afternoon, everybody. So after such an extensive presentation of all the EV markets, there is less to say, but I will have to talk about the Renault company because we are involved in the electric vehicle from now almost 5 years. There was a strategic decision to go through an electric EV range coming from LCV cars to sedan cars, Twizy, which is a very funny car, and Zoe, which is my baby because I'm running the project for the last 4 years. So I could speak about Zoe for 2 hours, but I will not. If you want to know a lot of Zoe, come to see me after the show, and I will spend some time with you. Let's have some words about the Renault strategy. So we are now deploying this full range of vehicles. We believe in the electric because, as it has been said, it's some part of the future. Will the future be there tomorrow or after tomorrow? I think it's no more the question. The question is that it's going on and it's coming, definitely. Zoe is on sale since 1 year now. We launched it in January in France and the rest of Europe from March to January. We are reaching the 10,000 common holders of vehicle, which is a very good number for first year. And we are now looking at make it a real success. I think for that there is mainly 3 major axis topics to follow. The first one is we need to make EVs affordable. We can make EVs. A lot of people is making EVs very expensive with a lot of power. It's not our strategy. We want to make it affordable and at affordable price, and not only with the price, but also with the way of living with it. It has to be affordable because it has to be the car for everybody. The second topic is that we need to make it EV visible. We were discussing that before this session. I think that we need to have everywhere, whatever make, a vision on the street of EV cars as something that it can be used by everybody. If my neighbor has an EV and is living with an EV and is living in the same neighborhood than I am, why shouldn't have one? I could live as it does. The third topic is we need to make EV easy. Not easy to purchase, but also easy to use, but also easy to live with, easy to live with. Qualcomm with its wireless charging is one of the ways, but it's not the only one. The EV life must be a life without constraints, without anxiety. And that is coming by first increasing the range. It's a real issue. We have to do it. You can live easily without having a car that is able to make 1,000 kilometers. Who is making 1,000 kilometer trip every day? I think nobody. So it's one of the way. With these 3 topics, the 3 axes, which is affordable, visible, and easy, EV will become probably one of the future of the mobility. Will it be the only one? I'm not sure. There probably room for some others technologies or the ways of moving. If you look to a city right today, in the past it was only cars. Now you got buses, you got tramways, you got trolleys, you got bikes by sharing, you got car sharing. Car sharing is also one of the ways of make EV on the street and EV visible. Talking about Zoe, Zoe is some kind of nice car. I hope you had the time to drive it. It's a wonderful car. It's a nice, easy, comfortable car. And one of the major learnings I had through the project in the beginning, we put some cars on the hands of real users, first prototypes. And what we noticed that the way of driving changed, not only with the EVs, but also when they came back to their old conventional engine car. They changed the way, they changed their relationship with the car, with the way of moving, and also with their environment, with the way of living with the other cars. And while using an EV car, which I'm doing from 1 year now, living with Zoe, you change your way of moving from one point to another. It's sometimes a less aggressive one, Sometimes it's a less tiring one, but anytime you get to your destination. I think that probably if we work together for that, we will make this future, as it was described by Jordi and my colleague of Qualcomm, a brighter one. If we all work together on that, we will succeed on that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Next up, we have Professor C.C. Chan from the University of Hong Kong. Professor.
Yes. I suppose represent the academic world. Okay?
The academic world, I beg
yes.
your pardon. Yes.
And I think I may change the tone or the taste.
Okay. Very good.
So, today we are now approaching the success of the closing of EVS28. And EVS has been around for 44 years. And I attended EVS from the EVS3 in Düsseldorf. And I witnessed the growth and the success of EVS. At EVS10, I am the founder of the WEWA. WEWA was founded at EVS10 in Hong Kong. In early EVS, the main participants are academics. But today you can see, the EVS is growing. EVS has become the world's largest gathering of academics, industrials, politicians, economists, media, like yourself, public, and for the common goal of the advancement of electric vehicles. So as an academic, what is the mission? I think the mission of academic world is to have foresight. The future cannot be predicted, but the future can be invented. Mobility is freedom. Mobility is the most apt expression for our quest for happiness. But can our mobility of freedom be sustainable? If automobile would like to be sustainable, its energy source, its powertrain must be revolutionized. We must invent new powertrains with new energy source. So the dawn of commercialization vehicle is coming. However, we still need to pass through the remaining darkness to reach the bright sunshine ahead. As you can see, the slope is not so high. Okay? So to reach this success, I think we should tackle 4 factors: cost, convenience of use, energy consumption, and emission. Therefore, I think we should hand in hand, particularly the auto industry and the power industry, should hand in hands to have what I call is 3 goodness and 2 integration. 3 goodness is good performance products at available cost, good infrastructure, and good business model. And 2 integrations is integrate EV with the smart grid, integrate EV with the communication and information technology, and the wireless is provide the platform. So, I think we should uphold the spirit of Renaissance. Renaissance happened in Europe. What is the spirit of Renaissance in my mind? Scientists is answering why, and engineers is answering how. A Renaissance scientist and engineers are those not only understand why and how things work, but also understand why and how the world works. That is, we should integrate our work, our daily work, with the world. Okay? And I summarize what is the character of Renaissance scientists and engineers. I summarize 6 points. First is global thinking instead of local thinking. Second is circle thinking instead of linear thinking. Third is closed loop thinking instead of open loop thinking. Fourth is life cycle thinking instead of partial life thinking. Fifth is 3R thinking, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Lastly is harmony thinking, harmony between human and nature. We should strengthen the collaboration of international academic world to speed up the progress of the key technologies in battery and powertrains, to promote the shake hand between the auto industry and power industry. I predict by 2020, EV will be about 3 or 5% of the total value, and China will be one of the biggest markets in the world. The philosophy of engineering is system integration and optimizations. So, the success of EV very much needs both the vertical integration and horizontal integration. Vertical integration means research, development, manufacturing and production, test and evaluation and market. Only vertical is not enough. We need horizontal integrations. Horizontal integration means political, economical, social, education, international relationship, customer relationship, public relationship, supply chain, etc. I observe in some of the obstacles, it's not in the technology. Some of the barrier, in some cases, is in the politics or in the economic, not in the technical. So that is why I sound out we should uphold the spirit of Renaissance to have vertical integration and horizontal integrations. EV is disruptive industry. We should uphold the spirit of Renaissance with open mind. Closed mind cannot change. EV is disruptive industry because its function, key component, and production process is different with the conventional vehicles. EV is not just a transportation means, but it's a moving energy storage. How to fully utilize the value of the battery. Okay? EV is not only mechanical product. It is the combination of mechanical, electrical, electronic, computer, IT product. Internal combustion vehicle has several 10,000 components, but EV only have several thousand components. Therefore, electric vehicle can be produced with modular, open house, de facto standard, and green manufacturing process. Therefore, we need open mind. Closed mind cannot change. We should see beyond what was and to see what is and what will be. We need the collaboration of all stakeholders. We need 6 eyes. I only have 4 eyes is not enough. We need 6 eyes. We should see the front. What is the foresight? We should need the back. EV has been glory 100 years ago. Why? Because at that time, EV is competitive. Cost is cheaper than ICE. It's more easy to use. But later, since Ford makes the mass production of the engines, EV died. We must learn from the history. Because at that time, EV, why it can compete? Because at that time, EV is competitive. Market is good product, good infrastructure, and good business model. Okay? So we should learn from the history, from the back. We do some top. What is the government need? What is the society need? We should look at the bottom. What is the grassroots need? We should look at the West. How is the American, Europe doing? We should look at the East. How is China, Japan, and Korea doing? So we must have 6 eyes. But eyes also implies another eyes. First eye, we must have inspiration. Second eye, we must have imagination. Third eye, we must have innovation. Third eyes, we must have integration. Not only vertical integration, but also horizontal integration. And then the fifth eye, we must implement it, implementation. And the last eye, we must have investment. No money, no can do. So we must integrate the investor come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Chan. Wonderful. And finally, we have Luis Rees from SEA. And he's going to do a presentation with slides. Yeah. Very exciting. Oh.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, first of all, for this very kind invitation to be here. As Jordi, he took advantage of his first, of being the first to talk a bit more. I'm taking advantage of being last to use the presentation. I'm putting up my slides so that I can better organize my thoughts and my speech. I come from CEIA. CEIA is an engineering and innovation company, and I've had the privilege to work with electric mobility since 2008, and to work with a wide array of actors in this ecosystem of electric mobility. I was very much impressed with the speech from Professor Chan. I also feel that this is becoming more and more professional. I wasn't at EVS 3, but I was at a few EVSs some years ago. And in fact, we see that we are coming into a more mature market. But one of our thoughts when we look at electric mobility and taking advantage of some of the ideas that were already put on the table is that, first of all, electric mobility should be inclusive mobility. We have been discussing four-wheel M1, N1 vehicles. But if you look around the exhibition, both here at EVS and at Smart Cities exhibition, we see that electric mobility goes far beyond what we expect from a conventional vehicle. And the fact that we have new technologies, new ways to design cars, new ways to design mobility devices enables us to think of mobility as an array of vehicles that can be used and integrated in the city intelligently, as we will see ahead. I'm just showing you some of our concepts that we are developing at CEIA. Then we feel that there is market uptake. Although we have been running the Portuguese pilot from 2010, the first charging station which I'm about to show was installed in mid-2008. We have been working since 2008. The first charging station was installed in 2010. There is it's not a very dynamic market, but we all get the feeling that this is coming into reality and that electric vehicles will be part of the future. We now see new manufacturers coming to play, and this will, of course, bring a new market, new dynamics to the market. But, of course, the electric vehicle is not an alien. It's something that needs to be made compatible with transportation systems. I've heard this anecdote of what if by a click we changed all internal combustion engines into electric vehicles. What would happen to urban congestion? It would keep the same. So we need to take care of the inclusion of electric mobilities in the city, into city dynamics, and we need to take care, of course, of the inclusion in the integration, the intelligent integration of electric mobility with the electric system, with the power system. But of course, the electric vehicle opens new ways of approaching the market from the manufacturers. We have a simplified vehicle, as mentioned by Professor Chan. This opens the opportunity for more new designs, new industrialization strategies, new segmentations, to new realities like build where you use the vehicle. And most of all, it has been fostering the introduction of new approaches at the vehicle as a service. We have here representatives from two companies who have put to work a new model. They are renting the battery. They have the concern of ensuring that people tend to look at the vehicle as a total cost of ownership and not as an immediate purchasing price. We have new models, 360 models, and this is only possible if there is a good integration with the city dynamics and there is adequate infrastructure. And this is something that we have been working on and with which we have some experiences. This is the first charging station that was installed in Portugal in 2010. But the fact is that the market joins the efforts between manufacturers, electricity suppliers, cities. They are all parts of the same system. If you look at the value chain of electric mobility, we will understand that electricity is just one part. Space is actually, if we address public charging, space might be the major asset in the equation, so we must find ways to innovatively bring these actors together and introduce new business models that can foster the introduction of EVs by making life easier for users and by allowing manufacturers to have higher penetration. This, of course, means that we need to take the service rationale beyond charging. We need to integrate home charging with public charging, and there's some more innovative ways of thinking. We need to understand that there are new layers of service between the electricity system or the power system, the transportation systems, the use of the electric vehicle, and we need regional coherence, and that means vertical and horizontal integration and interoperability. And this is one of the key issues that we have been working. Portugal was, in fact, I would be as blunt as to say that Portugal was, in fact, the first fully interoperable marketplace for electric mobility in Europe. This is our network operations center, where we manage the network that is live and fully operational in Portugal. And we have been following this approach of an integrated system that is able to integrate different operators, different companies, different equipments into one system, and provide users with seamless access to a variety of services that can be brought to their hands on their cell phones, and allow the integration of all these services on a use-friendly basis. And this is our experience. We believe that integration is one of the key issues. And if you look at the city, we have been hearing about the examples, the wide array of examples that we can use, that we can have in our minds when we address the introduction of EVs. It's not just our private EVs. It's thinking about coordinating EVs with public transportation schemes like Park and Ride we have up there. It's about coordinating the use of EVs with home charging, decentralized energy management, public charging, demand-supply response, and look at these challenges as something that will shape the future services behind the electric vehicle, that will contribute to make it more cost-effective and to return value to the users, either private users, fleet users, public users, under a wide array of services, and help manufacturers and cities have better and more rational introduction. Of course, for this to happen, you have the challenge of public policy, was one of the issues that was addressed as a topic for discussion. And what I'm about to show, we have the European flags, but what I'm about to show might be thought of or made up at the level of a city, of a country, of a region, or globally. And we have, of course, the challenge to foster the advantage, in the case of Europe, to keep Europe as the place where we have the highest development in terms of new technologies for sustainable mobility. This means not only investing upstream on R&D, but also investing downstream in demonstration, in bringing the ideas down to the floor shop, down to the foreground of the cities, in integration with actual users, actual people that use and understand and analyze the vehicles and new services. And also this means assuming that we are, as we are in fact, facing a more mature cycle, to ensure that we have integration between the different initiatives that arise along the cities, either just on infrastructure or in the integration of the different services, so that we can foster pan-European interoperability of services, pan-European interoperability of information. And I just leave you with two of the initiatives that we are engaged with: Mobi Europe, a European ICP project which addresses the interoperability between electric mobility systems in different countries, making assumedly life easier for users to come and use roaming in different countries of electric mobility, and the MI3, where we are gathered with a lot of major players in order to ensure that in the future we have the principles for the very basic interoperability. This said, we also believe that there's some agnostic philosophy to this. When we think about the comprehensive infrastructure that we need, either it's normal charging, quick charging, wireless charging, battery exchanging, we must see or understand that this shall be perceived on the user side as something that should be easy to understand, should be based on very simple and understandable indicators, and should allow for seamless access to the different proposals that we have from the market. And I'm sorry for being the only one to use the PowerPoint, but I'd like to leave you my thoughts anyway. Thank you very much.
Well, we don't have a great deal of time, but it would be wonderful if there is anyone in the audience with a question. There's somebody right at the front here. So, and I'll repeat the question. So, oh no, we've even got a microphone for you. Ooh, the technology is wonderful.
Thank you. Lewis, you said the words battery exchange right at the end of your presentation there, but intriguingly, it's something that seems to have been pretty absent from much of the rest of the debate and discussion. And given that it's part of the potential mix, charging with wires or charging wirelessly, and obviously there's been some effort with battery swapping, as we know, with a particular company, I'm just intrigued that it seems to have almost been airbrushed out of the picture to some extent, and I wonder why that might be.
Has there been a Stalinist removal of battery swapping?
Maybe I can answer, because the company who was working with Better Place, but the company would set up a battery swapping business in Israel, which is a close country, was Renault. The technology is existing. We know how to do this battery swapping. The problem is how to find a business model, and I'm coming back to Mr. Chan saying, of that kind of technology. A battery swap station is something which is quite expensive, and you have to have batteries inside. Is there still a future for that kind of way of living the EV? I don't know, maybe. What I can say is that Renault, we know how to do it. Zoe is not, it's almost ready to do it. If someday, sometime, there is a market for that, we can, in a short period of, with a short lead time of developing, change this Zoe to a battery swap solution. But today, there is no requirement, there is no market which is requiring to have a battery swap solution. So it's not just erased, it's just put in the fridge for the moment, waiting for some better days, if there is any.
May I add this?
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I give you example in China. Both in the Shenzhen city, the taxi is charging, but if in the Xinjiang city, that is swapping, and they both are successful. So in my opinion, it depends on the applications, and three parties must shake hands. One is the automakers, the other is the power company, the third party is the users. Three parties must hand in hand, depending on the type of vehicles, and depending also on the application, and decided what you want, charging or swapping. I know some of the concerns. That is why I always emphasize the auto industry and the power industry should shake hands. Because the obstacle something is not in the technical. You know this, in the political and the economical. Okay? So I know, because I've been advising automakers, US, Japan, China. I know the thinking of the automakers. There are several concerns. Technical concerns, legalistic concerns. Of course, it's most important is the West of interest. From the technical, some concerns. Because an automakers, they want to have uniform, they think like the Apple. They think battery is the integral part of the things. You cannot separate. But Samsung you can separate, but Apple you cannot. Why? There's some reason. When the OEM design the cooling, they have to decide water cool or air cool or oil cool. But if you separate the battery cooling is for the power company. Then the cooling of the battery and the cooling of the auto, how to, interface. Second interface is control strategy. Each auto has its own control strategy. BMW emphasizes on dynamic performance. But Mercedes-Benz is comfortable, smooth. Then you must equip with different power level. If you standardize, it will give the OEM shorthand to maneuver what they want. Okay, you agree? And also the legal aspect. If something happened wrong, the bad name is in the auto OEM. So that is many things, but this can be worked out. It can be worked out. So it depends on the as you say, business model. The automakers, the power company, and the battery makers and the users must hand in hand to find out what is the best way. That is my supplement to you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I think we've got time for one more. Have we got time for one more? Yeah, just one. Anybody? Anybody? No. I'll ask one.
Can I have just a final comment? If I can give you a piece of advice, because everybody's talking about EV, but some of them never put their body inside one. Just try to live with an electrical vehicle, a good one, not some kind of silly one, like a Renault one, maybe a Nissan one if there is not a Renault available, but better a Renault one than a Nissan one anyway. On other make, and I'm not talking about other makes, I don't know them. Just try to live with an EV, okay? Just make the effort to live 1, 2, or 3 days and use an electric vehicle car. You will see the difference. You will feel what is the meaning of that. I'm not saying it's the only solution. I'm saying it's I would say the paradoxic solution. But you need to try it. You need to feel the difference, and you need to feel the benefit of that kind of mobility. Please, just do it. Try to live with an EV. You can now find it in rental companies and somewhere, and you will see the difference.
You can buy one.
Just try to live it, and then after, I'm sure you will buy one.
I had a wonderful conversation earlier this year with a man who runs a very big vehicle leasing company, leases all sorts of vehicles, petrol, diesel, electric, and he's done this wonderful graph, which is the range anxiety graph. And on day one, when someone starts driving an EV, they are literally soaked in sweat. They're going like this, because they're going to run out. It's terrifying. Jeremy Clarkson told them they'd have range anxiety, and they have it. I had it the first time I drove one. Terrified. The second day, they're a little bit concerned looking at it. The third day, it's gone. And he said it's 3 days. Range anxiety lasts any EV driver 3 days. Then you go, I'm actually only doing 20 miles. I've got 100 miles range. I think I'll make it. And I've done tweets. I've sent out tweets going, oh, my God, I've got to drive 15 miles. And I take a picture of my